To our last topic for the show, and it is a little look at Miami Dolphins. We did go over the Miami Dolphins very, very early on in the season. We're definitely talking about the hot seat with their head coach Mike McDaniel. But is my will Miami Mike stay? Has he done enough to be sticking around for the Miami Dolphins? Currently 6-7. I mean, a month ago we did a podcast and we said he was on the hot seat. It's time to go. They should go. They should clear it out. Get rid of Tyreek Hill. Get rid of all their players. They made a few moves, I suppose, towards the trade deadline. We said in the offseason they would be the worst team in the NFL, but currently they're 6-7, like I said, which is the same as the Ravens and the Chiefs, and it's actually better than, this is a long-winded list, the Jets, the Bengals, the Browns, the Titans, the Raiders, the Commanders, the Giants, the Vikings, the Falcons, the Saints, the Cardinals. Are Miami bad?
There's a lot of bad teams in the NFL, I can tell you that much.
They're
Are
more a
Miami
victim of
bad?
everyone else being bad rather than
Yeah. Are they bad? I
maybe I
think
should
it's
rephrase it. Have they been bad enough where they may look for a change?
I don't think they're going to. I think they're gonna keep him. I don't it's a really difficult one. I think a lot of the problems that Miami have had, it does feel like it's come down to the general manager, which is why he ended up basically getting fired, and it feels like the team are playing for Mike McDaniel, and in a weird kind of way that it does feel odd because he doesn't come across. He's not your. He doesn't come across as your sort of players coach type guy. It feel, I feel like, you know, are your players playing for Dan Campbell? I don't think that would be a shock to anyone if the players were playing for Dan Campbell. But someone like Mike McDaniel, he doesn't come across like that, and he's a different sort of guy, and it does kind of it does feel that he's a bit more. I don't want to say nerdy, but a little bit more sort of like
He's
statistical. And
eccentric. He's eccentric.
yeah, I
Yeah,
think
I think
that's
that's fair.
probably right, and it's just they seem to be playing for him. Like, you can't say they're not. They've just won 4 games in a row.
Yeah, beating the Bills. What again though? It is a who have you beaten in that scenario? Bills,
Yeah,
Commanders,
yeah,
Saints, Jets. But
absolutely. It's
you
not.
would say that the Commanders, Saints, and Jets are on the same level as the Dolphins.
Yeah, yeah,
So they are on a bit of a hot streak. I mean, they're closing out the season at the Steelers, hosting the Bengals, hosting Tampa Bay, at the Patriots. I'm going to say I don't think they win, and I don't think they win any of them games. I don't think that at this point. I think they have a chance to beat the Steelers. I don't think they'll beat the Bengals, and I don't think they beat the Bucks, and I don't think they beat the Patriots.
no,
So that ends you
no.
what,
I
seven
think I
and
think that's fair. I think you're probably right. I don't think they beat the Steelers either, to be honest.
so you end 7-10. I mean, he's been McDaniel's been. I know we're sort of harping on the. I'm going to stick with McDaniel for the minute because that's where our focus was if they keep Mike McDaniel. Yes, they subsequently got rid of the GM, but they could do a mass clear out. We don't know. But he since 2022, he's gone 9-8, 11-6, 8-9. We then theorize that he goes 7-10.
Yeah,
Their defense has got something. I admit I was very big on moving a lot of their guys from the defense, a lot of big names. I was ready for full on press around button. Let's have a blow. Let's blow this all out. And they sort of did. They got rid of Jalen Phillips, but I was more like get rid of Bradley Chubb. But they're the 15th best defense in the minute. They are the 22nd best offense. Their bright spark, yeah, you have to say this. Is Devon Achane. I mean, he's third in rushing yards, 1,126,
yeah,
14th in rushing touchdowns, third in yards per game. He's only fumbled once. He is their guy. Like
yeah,
that offense runs through him, doesn't it? It doesn't run through Tua. It runs through him, even with Jalen
yeah.
out there.
I,
I know
I
Tyreek's not.
think ever since Tyreek's been out injured, yeah, I think it's kind of almost had to go through him, hasn't it? Because I mean, Waddle, he has a few good plays and then he gets injured. So it's like you're only ever going to get so much from him, and there isn't really anything else. That's all there is. And again, that kind of feels very much like that's a bit of an indictment on the GM. and
Mhm.
the roster building of this team, and I think that's probably the real reason behind the decline here. And it isn't so much that McDaniel is the reason um, behind it. And although, like you say, you look at who they've beaten them last 4 weeks, they haven't actually beaten anyone of any note. They're all just sort of like I say, there's a lot
Oh,
of bad
they beat the
teams in
Bills.
the
They did beat the
NFL.
Bills.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
They
So
didn't just beat the Bills. They like hammered the Bills.
yes, that's true. They
They
beat up
beat
the Bills, and then
But
the other three that they've
you get
beaten.
them weird games. You do get them weird games
Yeah,
where
yeah,
the giant gets taken out by the lesser team. It's a divisional game. Divisional games do
yeah.
spark a little bit of craziness on occasion. That does happen. But the big
S-
teams they've come up against, all right, like from week one, they weren't not that all these teams were as the current present day goes. Colts they lost to, Patriots they lost to the Bills the first time around, they lost to the Chargers, they lost to the Ravens, all big teams. That's fair, but they did also lose to the Panthers. They also lost to the Browns. They also, so yeah, they're probably the two teams that you go are poorer. But then again, the Panthers may win their division, so that's
mm.
in there as well. But the Browns are certainly a bad team, and that's they won that game 31-6. The Browns, so you know,
Yeah, I think that okay, I think that the majority of their wins have been against poorer
poor
teams
teams.
who have looked bad for most of the season, and so they've beaten up on some poor ones. Hopefully for them and for Dolphins fans, they can take this momentum and keep, get maybe like a couple more wins over these last 4 games. But I think given who you're talking about and who they're playing, it's going to be very difficult for them. I mean, look, it's 7-10. It's getting worse compared to what it was, but I think that there was a feeling that it could have been catastrophic this season and really far off. And I think we all felt that they were going to really, really struggle here. Um, and most of us had them last, I think.
Oh,
For
I think most of us said they're going to be the first draft pick. They're going to be
yeah, yeah, well, yeah, toward certainly up towards there sort of thing, and
yeah.
how bad it was. So
Now, and as the day goes, at the minute they're 12th in the
yeah,
division.
so I think they have kind of done a bit better than what everybody thought they were gonna do. Um, but it's difficult because you sort of look at it and you go, okay, you've got some of these players who are getting a bit older now. You know, Tyreek is getting a bit older. Bradley Chubb has been around for a while now. Do you see yourself winning anything anytime soon? The Bills are, I think the Bills are just going to be one of these teams that are always going to be in the conversation to win the division because you've got Josh Allen there. And they're always going to have a certain amount of talent. The Patriots have, I understand that the Patriots have, again, they are another team in a very false sort of record because they have literally played no one apart
Yeah.
from the Bills.
But
So
they will get better.
they
Like they've
yeah,
got
and
direction. They
they
have
yes,
direction.
they've got quite a lot of money for next year, so they can
Mhm.
really hit free agency, and I think that you'll find that they will just they will like you say, they will just generally get better. So you've got two teams that are gonna be very good. The Jets are the Jets, who knows? Maybe Aaron Glenn can create a miracle, probably not. But you just sort of think to yourself, how do you win a division title? Because surely that's the aim, isn't it? At least in the division, is to win the title and give
I
yourself a chance.
I can't see any scenario where keeping him, even if they get a new crazy GM in. I mean, that's if you get a great GM in next year, this coming off season, I think you got to give him at least 3 draft cycles, but I don't think
Yeah.
McDaniel has 3 draft cycles to stay
No.
with Miami. And I'm a little bit like, well, let's just start afresh everywhere because you're not. This is not going to be. We've just talked about it in this episode. You are not going to be the NFC North in 2 years' time. That's
No.
not going to happen. There's going to be 2 teams competing for this division for a while. And I know people go about like Sean McDermott, his job's at risk sometimes. Even if McDermott goes, they've still got Josh Allen. It's we've sort of discussed the Bills where we said like roster top to bottom is actually not that good. Well, that means that the head coach, whatever head coach sort of comes in, still has Josh Allen and still will probably do pretty okay. I don't think Allen's
Yeah.
going anywhere, and okay, he's getting older, but he's nowhere near in his twilight years. Drake May's only just beginning. and we know what
Yeah.
Drake May is now. He's fantastic, and that Vrabel project is going to be there for a while. I can see Vrabel being there unless it goes very poorly in 2 years' time. I can see him being there for 5+ years. You can imagine probably the same sort of tenure as he did in Tennessee, where it might whittle off at the end. Let's say if injuries pending. The Jets, like you said, with Aaron Glenn, just mess. I just don't see how they get out of that mess unless Aaron Glenn turns it around. I don't know. Again, maybe
They've got a lot of first round picks, haven't they, over the
need to give
next
him
few
a couple
years?
of draft cycles. Yes, exactly,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
But I just don't. This doesn't become a powerhouse division out of nowhere. And I think McDaniel's been there long enough now where it's 4 years, it's 4 draft cycles. You did the big contract for Tua. I don't know. I just think that's not necessarily McDaniel's decision there, but it's still not impressive. Even with the record, it's not impressing me.
No, no, I well, look, they're going backwards. You
Mhm.
know, this is the point. When you read out them what they've done over the season and him being there, the fact is that they are going backwards, and that obviously is a problem. You can't keep doing that and expecting it to work out for you. It's like so you know, you have got rid of your GM already. It does kind of feel a little bit like let's just blow the whole thing up and start all over again. That kind of does make a lot of sense for them. And, you know, they are in a division where they've got two teams that are probably going to continue to be strong. And so
Yeah,
you kind of you reach that point where it's a little bit like, well, you're not going to win it anytime soon.
yeah.
So
And if you're
what
gonna
are you doing? You're just
if you're
treading
gonna
water.
reset, you've got to look at what your draft stock is and what players of the draft stock.
Yeah,
Tua, Waddle. I mean, I'm a little bit shocked now thinking about it. I'm a little bit shocked Waddle didn't get traded. It's probably because of the Tyreek Hill injury, because everyone was
yeah.
saying Hill was going to get go. He got injured, and then they kept Waddle, so that's why that happened. That transpired. But you've stock now is A Chain, Tua, Tyreek when he's back, but now he's older and he's got that injury complex around him
Mm,
now a little bit, where he has been injured a few times and then had a significant injury. Waddle, look on the defensive side, Bradley Chubb, you could argue. I know they got in Kenneth Grant, and you're not going to trade him anytime soon because he's
no.
going to be on a rookie deal, but obviously not. But there's a few pieces they could still move around where it could feel like full reset in a way, because you've got to get cheaper. Yeah, I just think it's a little bit. It's like you said, it's going backwards, and then well, how we're going to go forwards is the new GM. How we're going to go forwards, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, it probably is to a certain extent, and obviously that makes, you know, you want to get yourself a GM in and someone who's gonna sort of be good. I do feel like one guy who definitely people are going to be looking at this year is the Eagles assistant GM, which is Alec Halaby, I believe it is. And you know, he's learned
I'd
under
say
Harry Roseman.
that is unreal ball knowledge from you there.
Oh, well,
I hadn't got a clue.
you're dealing with someone who's looking into draft stuff now, so that's how come, like, that's what I know. So there's a few different guys. I think that the Lions guy, Ray Agnew, he's the assistant GM. He'd be another good one to bring in. I can throw out a few of them if you want. So
This is generally intriguing me more than my answer.
yeah, yeah. So I think that there's a couple of guys out there who are decent as like assistant GMs who can really
Who
make
I
a
love
difference. But
to.
I do really like Hallaby from the Eagles because he's learned from Harry Roseman. It's a really good sort of like, you know, what more can you want from a GM?
Mm.
It's like ideal
Does
sort of
everything.
thing. So it would be good to bring him in, but I kind of feel like a lot of GMs when they come in they want their guy. And, you know, we were just talking about the Raiders, and you brought in your GM last year, and I don't think he really got his guy. I think that was the ownership that came in and brought in Pete Carroll and messed about with that. And I think you need it all to work together. And sometimes I think the best thing you can do is just rip the band-aid, get
The,
rid of get rid of the head coach and the GM, and you've already done the GM, so get rid of the
the
head
best
coach
the
and
best
start all over
teams
again.
the best teams have that synergy.
Yeah, yeah,
Ha
absolutely.
Harry and Sirianni, Brett Veach and Andy Reid, McVay and gosh, what's his name? Gosh, what is his name?
Um,
Les Snead.
yes.
Les Snead. Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's the tandems that work, and the tandems have just not worked in Miami. So we'll see this off season. We'll see what they do, and it's an interesting prospect to see how they do, and towards the end of the season, and also into the next draft period as well, which
Yeah.
is